Hi, Kevin Wright here, back with another property finance video, and this week I'm going to be focusing on why lodgers could be a good way to start in property. So if you're just looking to start out in property, then this week's video could be just right for you. So lodgers, what makes lodgers different from normal AST tenants that you would rent out to, and why would they be a good place to start out? Now maybe you haven't bought a property yet and you're looking for a place to start, or maybe you've got a main residence but you haven't got any properties that you rent out, or maybe you've got one or two rent out but you're finding it difficult to buy your next one. So how could lodgers help? Let's drill down and find out. So what is a lodger and how are they different from normal AST tenants? So a lodger is someone that lives in the house that you live in, not in a separate house that you don't live in. So AST tenants, which of course is assured short hold tenancy agreements, now they apply to any property you rent out but you don't live in. If you live in a property but you want to rent out part of that, i.e. a spare bedroom, then you don't put them on an AST contract, you put them on a lodger's license. And the two are completely different contracts. ASTs give tenants much more rights, and rightly so. But if you're going to share your own main residence with a lodger, that can bring some benefits, and it could help you grow your portfolio or get it off to a start. Let's look at how that could work. And this could be a way that actually gets you buying property rather than just having to control property with any rent-to-rent strategy or lease option strategy. Now, a main residence mortgage has some advantages. One of those being the deposits are smaller. With a typical buy-to-let mortgage, you have to put down 25% deposit in most cases. With a main residence mortgage, it can be as little as 10%, sometimes even 5%, but certainly 10%. So it can be easier in terms of the size of the deposit to buy a property to live in than one to rent out. Now, if we look at interest rates for your own property are likely to be lower than for a property that you want to rent out to other people. So you could have two advantages there in buying a property for you to live in terms of a smaller deposit and lower rates. But where do lodgers come in? Well, most main residence lenders allow you, in their terms and conditions, to rent out to up to 2 lodgers. The emphasis being on up to 2, i.e. 1 or 2, not 3, 4 or 5. So if you're thinking of buying a 5-bedroom house and renting out 4 of the bedrooms, that probably isn't going to work. But a smaller property, maybe a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom property, with you taking 1 or even 2 lodgers, that could work well. Now if it's a 3-bedroom house, you might sensibly want to bag the biggest bedroom for yourself and rent out the other 2 rooms. If it's a 2-bedroom house, but it's got 2 reception rooms, which sometimes happens, certainly on the older, more Victorian age properties, you could rent out the 2 upstairs bedrooms to lodgers on a lodger's license, and maybe convert for a limited period the lounge to your bedroom. So what's the big advantage of this? Well, 2 lodgers are going to help and possibly cover all of your mortgage payments, which in one sense means you get to live rent-free. And this is actually exactly how I started out in property some 40 years ago. Bought a small property, rented out the spare bedroom, and moved on to the next property. Come to that in a minute. So there's nothing new about lodgers. It's been going on for decades. If it was good for me way back when, it could be equally good for you now. And there's one more benefit to doing this. Tax-free cash. Now, earning money tax-free is never a bad thing, is it? So how do lodgers allow you to earn money tax-free? The government have a rent-a-room scheme, which means you can earn something like £7,500 a year from renting out room or rooms in your house tax-free on top of your normal personal allowance. So how great is that? You can get 1 or possibly 2 lodgers to pay part or all of your mortgage, and you don't pay tax on the money that they pay you to rent out a room. Now the lodger's license means they rent a room rather than share the house. Now you may offer some share of facilities, but it's essentially they're just renting a room. Now how will this help you grow a portfolio? Well, it might not be the quickest way to do it, but it is a way to do it. Let's say after a couple of years, Hey, do you know I run in-person one-day events called Buy, Refurb, Refinance Summits? 2 great speakers plus me for a full day in a city near you. Look at the link below to see when the next one is for you. You may have a better job or some pay rises, so you're earning more money. The property might have gone up a bit and you may be able to save another 5 or 10% deposit, which allows you to move house and buy a new house. How is that an advantage? Well, vacating the room in your original property would allow you to rent out that second or third room, but you would now have to switch those tenants onto ASTs because they're no longer lodgers because you wouldn't live there. And you repeat the whole process again with the new property that you're buying. You live in one of the rooms and you rent out 1 or 2 of the other bedrooms. In other words, replicate on a second property what you did on the first property. And now you've got 2 properties. You'd also have to convert the original property to a buy-to-let mortgage. So the value would have needed to increase enough so that you could refinance on a 75% mortgage and get a reasonable buy-to-let rate. It's fair to say this is probably going to work best if you're single or maybe a couple. It's unlikely to work if you've got children or a family, and it's not something you're going to be doing for the next 10 to 20 years, but it's a way to give you a leg up until your life moves on and maybe you do have relationships, families, living together, all that type of thing. Now, don't be trying to cram 3, 4, 5 lodgers in because you're going to be breaching your mortgage lender's terms and conditions, and that's never a good thing to be doing. So it's less about making a large profit on a monthly basis from renting out to multiple tenants and more about getting your main residence mortgage paid in part or in whole and giving yourself a start on the property ladder that might otherwise be more challenging. Okay, so there we are. That's this week's video. It's about how lodgers could help you to get a leg up on the property ladder to get you started and move you on to do bigger and better things in the future. I'll be back next week with another property finance video. See you then.
If you enjoyed watching this video, did you know every Monday morning at 8:30 I do a live Facebook Q&A. So if you want to start the week with checking out some answers to your property finance questions, click the link here.